Hello there everyone, my name is David Lutchford and in this lesson I'm going to be talking to you about breathing marks in ancient Greek. Breathing marks are two diacritics, that is, two marks that appear above letters which you need to know how to pronounce in order to be able to pronounce ancient Greek. Specifically, breathing marks only appear above vowels. Even more specifically, every word beginning in a vowel must have a breathing mark, okay? If a word begins in a vowel, then it must have one of the two breathing marks above it. Let's look at these two breathing marks. The first looks like this. Kind of looks like our apostrophe, but flipped. This is a rough breathing. Okay? The second one looks just like our apostrophe, and it's called a smooth breathing. How do these affect pronunciation? Well, if a word beginning in a vowel has a rough breathing above the vowel, then you need to add a H sound to the start of the word. Okay? You add a H sound before the vowel. And now it says H sound here. My Greek teacher taught me to add quite a phlegmy H sound. So instead of saying ho, he would say ho. So that's what I use. It's up to you whether you want to make the throat noise or whether you just want to, add a nice without any phlegm. But anyway, I do the throaty H sound, but you can do any H sound you want. Rough breathing, add a H sound. Smooth breathing, don't add a H sound, just pronounce the vowel as I've taught you to pronounce it, okay? So the smooth breathing indicates an absence of a H sound, and a rough breathing indicates you need to add a H sound to the start of the word. Let's look at some examples just with individual vowels, okay? So this is alpha with a rough breathing above it. This would be pronounced ha. If it's short, or if it were long, it would be ha. He, he, hi. Or if iota were long, it would be he, ho, hu. Or if epsilon were long, it would be hu. And then you've got alpha with a smooth breathing, a, e, I, o, u. I'm just freezing myself to note that omega with a rough breathing would be pronounced hor, and omega with a smooth breathing would be pronounced or. Straightforward, right? Rough breathing, add a H sound before it. If the vowel is capitalized, then the breathing is written before the vowel instead of on top of it, okay? Instead of the breathing going above it, if the vowels are capital, then it goes to the left of it. You can see the examples here where the breathings are to the left of the capitalized vowels. Note that if the word begins in a diphthong, then the breathing is written over the second vowel, even if the first vowel is capitalized. So, for example, look at these diphthongs with breathings. The first one is hi, and then you've got I, how, ow, hey, a, hey, a. And you can see that the breathing goes over the second vowel. And even if we make the first letter a capital, as it will be in a name, for example, you can see the breathing still stays over the second letter, okay? Let's do some practice, pronouncing words with rough and smooth breathings. This first word is a very common word in ancient Greek, and it's pronounced, you can pause it, remember, try and pronounce these words yourself before I say them. Anthropos, anthropos. And this means man or fellow. It means man in the general sense of person. It's non-gender specific because there is a gender specific word for man in Greek, but this one is general. It doesn't apply to just human males, it applies to humans in general or people in general. You translate it as man in the sense that we say mankind. The second word is Hellas. 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 Which is the noun for Greece, hence why it has a capital epsilon. The third word, you can see we've got iota with a smooth breathing. This is a difficult word as well, so make sure you pause it and try and say it yourself. Ichthus, ichthus, ichthus. This means fish. There's actually a Christian symbol, the symbol of the fish. You see it on the back of cars sometimes. That symbol is called ichthus in English, and that's just a transliteration of the Greek word for fish. Finally, we have this noun that's got the diphthong ui, but it's got a rough breathing. So you know it will be pronounced hui, and the noun in general is huios. 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 Huios means son. Jesus in the New Testament is called the Huios of God, the Son of God. Okay, the final thing we need to know about breathings is that if a word begins in rho, r, then it must have a rough breathing, but this is not pronounced. So for example, you've got this word here. You can try and pronounce it. Rhetor. Rhetor. It means orator, or public speaker, or politician. Somebody that speaks publicly. We actually have a word in English, rhetor, spelled R-H-E-T-O-R, which is just a transliteration of this word. And you can see that rho has a rough breathing, but it's not pronounced. So if a word begins in rho, it must have a rough breathing. If a word begins in a vowel, then it will either have a smooth breathing or a rough breathing, depending on the noun. So you have to learn for every noun that begins in a vowel, whether it's got a smooth breathing or a rough breathing. You just have to memorize it as part of learning the word, okay? Which is easy enough, because it's like remembering whether a noun begins in H or not, to be honest. So you'll be absolutely fine. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful. See you next time.